Good morning. Uncle Lou here. Yep. Welcome to another mostly pointless edition here of Coffee Talk with Uncle Lou. Yep, of course, by now, you should know what this is. If you've been watching Uncle Lou every day like you're supposed to, then you know what Coffee Talk is. For some reason you haven't, well, this is a show where I drink coffee and talk to you. Groundbreaking, I know, but yep, another beautiful day here. Yep, raining this morning, but just because it's raining doesn't mean you can't have a good morning. There's nothing wrong with a good rain shower. Of course, I prefer a storm, a thunderstorm. I can sit out here and watch thunder and lightning. I guess you can't really watch thunder, but yep. But you can listen to thunder and watch the lightning. Anyway, yeah. But no storms today. Just a steady rain this morning. But not gonna get me down. I'm still gonna have a good morning. Hopefully you do too. Yeah. But anyway, I guess I've waited long enough. So here we go. Baltimore Riots. You know. Sure, everyone probably knows how I feel overall about the situation. This guy died for no reason, Freddie Gray. He wasn't committing a crime. He was walking down the street, saw a group of police officers, I guess, across the street or whatever, turned around, ran the other way. Now, maybe one of you cop-type people that like to watch the Uncle Lou show can tell me, but if I see a police officer and I take off running, is that a crime? I honestly don't know. Now the cops were not after him to start with. They weren't, you know, it's not like they told him to, you know, hey, freeze or anything like that. No, the only reason the cops chased him was because he ran. Prior to that, they had no interest in the guy. So I don't know. Maybe y'all can tell me. I'm not sure about that. If just the act of running in the presence of a police officer is a crime. I don't think it is. Anyway, they gave chase. Tackled him on the sidewalk there. Of course, if you've seen the video, that's where the video basically starts. Yep. Now, in the video, they're dragging the guy through the road. He's screaming. To me, he appears to be in obvious pain at that point. It also appears that he does not have the use of his legs at that point. The police officers are, you know the routine. There's a police officer on each side, and you know, with their arms under his arms, and they're basically dragging him upright through the road while yelling at him to walk. You know, and I know that sometimes when, you know, these people get cuffed up and arrested and all that, they, you know, they purposely will go limp and things like that to make the officer's job, you know, as hard as they can or whatever. So, you know, do I know for sure he couldn't use his legs? No, I don't. I just know what it appears to show in the video. They drag him over to one of these paddy wagons. You know what I'm talking about? These big police vans with these bench seats in the back where they ride around and collect, you know, 7 or 8, you know, criminals or whatever. They throw them in the back of the van, haul them down to the, you know, station or the jail or whatever to get them booked in. You know what I'm talking about. But anyway, they drag him over to one of those things, throw him in the back like he's a piece of meat being thrown into a walk-in freezer, basically. The whole time he's screaming. Yep. So it takes 40 to 45 minutes to get him from that point to the police station. This is something else I don't quite understand. At some point during the ride from the arrest point to the police station, whoever it was driving the van decided it would be a good idea to stop and fill out paperwork in the van, you know, before getting to the police station. I don't understand that. But anyway, they did. So they get to the police station, you know, 30, 40 minutes, whatever later. He's complaining at the police station that he's in pain. He's saying that he can't breathe. He's asking for an inhaler. It takes about another 40 minutes before the police finally call EMTs. EMTs come to the police station, scoop him up, take him to the hospital. He slips into a coma. They do a couple of different surgeries on him trying to save the guy. It doesn't work. He ends up dying 7 days later. So this all happened on April 12th. He died on April 19th. You've heard by now, but as far as his injuries go, he had a broken neck. His spinal cord was 80% severed. And he also had a crushed voice box, or a crushed larynx. Now, prior to running into these police officers back on April 12th, Freddie Gray was 100% healthy. There was nothing wrong with his neck or spine. There was nothing wrong with his voice box or his larynx. He was in perfect health. So, there can't be any debate at all that the police in this case are 100% responsible for the death of Freddie Gray. Period. In my mind, the only question you can legitimately ask is the police department criminally responsible or civilly responsible, or both? Because there is no doubt that they are responsible. If you arrest somebody, when the police arrest you, they're responsible for your well-being, period. Doesn't matter what crime you have or haven't committed, how good or bad of a person you are, the police are responsible for your well-being while you're in their custody. So, as far as determining exactly how this guy died, and how he sustained these injuries, whether they were sustained during the arrest, you've all seen videos of police takedowns where they'll get a guy on the ground and drive their knee into people's backs and back of their heads and things like that. So that's obviously a possibility. There's a possibility that something happened inside the back of that van. They did not buckle him in, and he was handcuffed behind his back. There's been several allegations against the Baltimore Police Department dating back 10-15 years of so-called rough rides. This is where they throw these people in the back of the vans and intentionally take sharp turns and, you know, slam on the brakes, you know, or accelerate, stop, to purposely throw the person around in the back of the van. The Baltimore Police Department has been sued in the past for this exact same thing, and lost the case. The Baltimore Police Department did, so it's been proven before that they do these kinds of things. So it's a possibility something like that happened, and because Freddie Gray wasn't buckled in, and because his hands were handcuffed behind his back, if he was slung around that van too hard or too rough, it would have been next to impossible for him to brace himself against any type of fall or anything like that. So I guess it's possible he cracked his head inside that van and severed his neck. I don't know. That's another possibility. Another possibility, he was roughed up at the police station. That's a possibility. So, as far as I can tell, it's one of those three. It had to have been one of those three things. It either happened during his arrest, it happened in the van, or he was roughed up at the police station. Those are only three possibilities. Now, if they're unable to determine how it happened, or they do determine that it happened in the back of the van, it's going to be very difficult to prove criminal charges there, I think. It's going to be almost impossible to prove that the driver of the van was intentionally driving erratically or things like that. So if that's what comes out of this, then you're probably just going to see a civil lawsuit against the police department. I don't know. You know, this isn't going to be one of those videos where I come out and call a certain police officer a murderer or anything like that, because right now there's just no way to know what actually happened. My personal opinion right now is that it probably happened during the arrest. There's no way for me to know that. It could just have easily have happened one of the other two ways, in the van or at the police department. But the Baltimore PD is 100% responsible for the death of Freddie Gray. The family of Freddie Gray will be millionaires. It's just a matter of time, whether it's months or a year down the road or whatever it is. But Freddie Gray's family will be multimillionaires. The Boston Police Department, the city of Baltimore, is going to pay them a multi-million-dollar settlement. There's absolutely zero doubt about that. It's going to happen. Now, as far as the aftermath of this thing with these riots and these things like that, I think it's completely ridiculous. I don't understand how setting cars or buildings on fire or breaking into buildings or looting is going to help your cause at all. In fact, I think it does the exact opposite. For people who already have a preconceived notion about a certain group of people, those actions just reinforce some people's preconceived notions of you. So I really think you're doing yourselves a disservice when you go out and do those sorts of things. But with that being said, I do understand well, that's not the right word. It's impossible for me to understand. But I empathize with the anger and the frustration that has built up in certain communities for decades of mistreatment, whether it's perceived mistreatment or actual mistreatment. Martin Luther King once said that riots are the language of the unheard. Whether you agree with what they're doing or not, which I don't agree, I think if you're honest with yourself, you would agree that this is a segment of the population that's largely unheard, largely unrepresented. It's peaceful protests are the way to go. Civil disobedience is the way to go. I'll give you an example. Baltimore put a curfew in effect for good morning. Baltimore put a curfew in effect for the entire city, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. started last night. If I was in that situation, I would not abide by that curfew. I would sit myself down in the middle of the road somewhere and refuse to leave. That is an example of civil disobedience that does not involve destruction of property, theft, burglary, arson. These are crimes, and I think if they have video of individuals doing those things, I think those individuals should be arrested. I think they should be charged, and I think they should be convicted. But civil disobedience, I think, would get you a lot further. This country has a long history of civil disobedience, dating back to forever. And just for people who think that only, and you see this all the time on Twitter and Facebook, that only black people riot, white people don't act that way. And you know the type of people I'm talking about. They always refer to the people that are rioting as thugs or animals, which are just, when you have a white person that calls a group of black people thugs and animals, let's be honest here. It's because that white person doesn't have the balls to call that group of people what they really want to call them, which is the N-word. calling a group of black people thugs and animals is they call them thugs and animals instead of using the N-word, but their meaning is the same. Let's just be realistic here. You know, this country was founded basically on rioting. The Boston Tea Party was not, that's what the Boston Tea Party was. It was a riot. Now, I'm not comparing what the Boston Tea Partiers were rioting against to what is going on in Baltimore. Obviously, the situations were totally different. But, you know, you see it all the time on these social media sites where these closet racists will use terms like thugs and animals and, if a white person dies, how come I can't, you know, you don't see white people going to Walmart and stealing and all that. Well, white people riot all the time. Just recently, after the Kentucky game, when Kentucky lost, they rioted in Lexington, Kentucky. There was over 30 arrests. 90% of those people rioting were rich white kids. You can go back to the 60s and 70s and look at, Woodstock. You know, there was things that happened at Woodstock that, you know, rapes and things like that. Again, majority white. The big concert at Altamont, California, in the 60s, where dozens of people were stabbed, killed, raped, majority white. I mean, I can go through and list them off. Baltimore itself has rioted over sports wins and losses. Majority white folks. So it's not rioting is not a black thing. Rioting is not a new thing. Rioting has been rioting is as old as America, and it knows no color. But if you're one of those people who just wants to look at the people that are rioting and looting and call them thugs and animals, well, you know, I would be curious, if you're black and you're watching this video, what's worse? You tell me what's worse. Somebody like Straight Chuck 101, who openly and proudly admits to being a racist, will use the N-word, you know, absolutely no doubt how he feels about blacks. What's worse, that or people who will say to your face that they're, no, I'm not racist. No, I have 2 black friends. I've had 3 black people over to my house before. But then these are the same people that are on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else right now posting pictures of these riots, calling them thugs and animals, and, you know, these people ain't got no daddies and, you know, stuff. What's worse? The actual racist who admits it or the closet racist? I would think the closet racist is worse and actually more dangerous, but again, who am I to say? I can't put myself in your shoes. But anyway, how much time have I wasted here? Plenty? Okay. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to tell me that I'm a race-baiting, liberal, cop-hating, balding, ugly, retarded, what else? I think that pretty much covers it, but don't forget to call me all those things when you thumb down this video, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Good morning.